There is a particular hour, usually late, when I catch myself pricing out a smaller life. Not a better one, which is what you might assume, but a smaller one. And the difference turns out to matter. I mean the plain arithmetic of how little it would take to be somewhere no one has my number, in a town whose name I would have to practice before I could spell it. The picture is always the same, and I have never been anywhere near it. A house with a cold floor and a window that faces east. Mornings that arrive without an agenda already attached to them. People who still talk about the weather because the weather still decides things for them. A garden that asks for water and returns something you can put on a plate. In the evenings, there would be work with a visible end to it, a wall raised or a harvest brought in. The kind of task you can finish and then set down for good. I would learn the names slowly and forget to check my phone until the light moved. What wears on me is not the work itself. I like most of what I do. It is the being reachable, the low background hum of a demand that has not arrived yet, but could at any minute from any direction. I answer a message and feel briefly caught up, and the caught up feeling lasts about as long as it takes for the next one to land. I have started to notice that I am never actually finished, only between demands, and that the gap between them has quietly closed until there is no longer a place to stand and be a person who is not producing anything. The disappearing is aimed at that, not at the people. For a long time I judged the wish the way we are taught to, as a failure of nerve, a quiet request to quit. It took me a while to hear it more accurately. I was not asking to leave my life. I was asking for it to lie fallow. A field taken out of rotation for a season is not a field that gave up. It is a field being trusted to recover what the harvests kept taking out of it. That is the honest shape of the fantasy when I stop dressing it up. Rest that puts something back, and not rest that hides. But the metaphor turns on me if I follow it, because a field does not decide to rest. Someone decides for it, and someone else works the ground that stays in use, so the resting field can afford its idleness. My disappearing has a bill, and I am not always the one who pays it. The messages I left unanswered would land on somebody. The things I am tired of holding together would not hold themselves while I was gone. A person would stand where I had been standing and carry what I set down. It is easy to romanticize a retreat when you quietly assume the world will keep your seat warm and pay someone else to sit in it. There is a harder suspicion underneath that one. The mountain town would not repair me because the town was never what broke. Tiredness is portable. It packs into the same suitcase as the softer heart I imagined arriving with. I have watched people move somewhere beautiful and unpack inside a month. The exact life they crossed the country to escape, because the ache was never in the city or the calendar. It lived in how they had learned to sit with themselves and that particular cargo ships for free. I might find the birds and the slow bread and the cold floor and still wake at 3 a.m, braced for a demand that is not coming. Some part of the fantasy is a story I tell myself, so I can avoid changing anything where I actually am. That does not make the wish a lie. It makes it a signal I have been reading in the wrong direction. The urge is not asking for a plane ticket. It is asking for something smaller and far more inconvenient, a version of my own life that I have never bothered to build. where I am not reachable at every hour, where a few doors are allowed to close without a written apology, where rest is something I schedule rather than something I fantasize about at midnight. The town is the image my exhaustion reaches for because the image is easier than the work. The work is learning to become unavailable without going anywhere. To let a few things drop on purpose and watch the ground hold anyway. I still think I will go someday. Not to vanish and not to come back a harder or a louder person, but to remember from a distance why any of it was worth keeping in the first place. There is an old idea that a person cannot become whole in company alone, that some part of us forms only in solitude and then has to be carried back in by hand, like water drawn from a well that sits too far from the house. Maybe that is what the wish has been about the whole time. Not the leaving at all, but the carrying back. And if I am honest with myself, I do not need a mountain for it. I need one quiet morning I refuse to hand over, and then another after it, until the life already in front of me stops feeling like something I am surviving and starts feeling like something I chose. That may be the only disappearance most of us can actually reach, and it is not a new address. It is an hour a day that no one is allowed to spend but me, and the nerve to sit inside it and find out what is still there when nothing at all is asking.
Move like Sunday, easy on my mind. If trouble